I'd like to call the meeting to order. All rise. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. I would ask the clerk to call the roll.
Chair Van Konynenberg,
Here.
Member Pratt, Member Day, Member Lewis, Vice Chair Bachman,
Here.
and Member Aldalco.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I'd like to now open it up for public comments. Members of the public may address the committee on any item that's not on the agenda. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Is there anyone online who would like to make a public comment? All right, then we'll move to our consent calendar. On the consent calendar today is the meeting minutes of December 2nd, 2025. We do have some corrections that have been offered and some typos. I would just have whoever's going to be doing the minutes consult with Jose Luis Caceres to make sure that there are some typos in his presentation. I did not see any other typos. Is there anything else that anyone would like to add before we take it to a motion? Okay, so we're going to, the motion is that there will be corrections that will be offered by staff that are minor and do not change the intent or direction of the meeting minutes. Do I have a motion for acceptance?
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, so now I'm going to call on Jose Luis to make the introductions of our various presentations.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Tonight we have 3 presentations. Let me fix this mic. Tonight we have 3 presentations. One is just a kind of a general presentation on Measure L projects from one of our local jurisdictions. We try to bring these informative presentations for the committee's benefit. Mike Beltran from the City of Ceres was supposed to have presented at our December meeting, was not able to, so we've brought him back to this meeting. Our second and third presentations, and bless you, sir, are from the City of Turlock and City of Newman. The MLOC, in its December letter to the policy board, noted that there are 3 jurisdictions that have Measure L balances that were more than triple what they get in a year. And would they please, explain how they're going to be using those funds? I've called on those 3 jurisdictions to come and present before the MLOC, and they're going to do a fulsome presentation where they talk about what's going on with their funds, what their balances are today, and how they're using them and why they have these balances. 2 of those agencies are the City of Turlock and the City of Newman. Modesto is happy to come to the April 14th meeting where they will give a presentation. If you please, Mr. Chair, welcome our the City of Ceres City Engineer, Mike Beltran.
Thank you, committee members, staff. My name is Mike Beltran. I am the Director of Engineering for the City of Ceres. Wanted to come and share a little bit about a project that is almost completed. It's our neighborhood pavement preservation project. So just a little bit about what we receive for Measure L. We receive about 6.3% of the allocation. It's approximately $2 to $2.2 million a year. Generally, we use a lot of our funding for leveraging grant funds, whether that be CMAQ, ATP, HSIP, any of those types of funds. We generally will use Measure L to match those funds. We use them for both design and construction. The project that we're going to look at is our neighborhood preservation project. It really is a pavement maintenance project. We did slurry seals, we did cape seals. We did upgrade 71 ADA curb ramps, and this cost approximately $1.65 million. We did have some community meetings out in the neighborhoods. The neighbors requested that. really to explain kind of what the difference was between each of the treatments that we were doing. Kind of give them information on who to contact, project managers, those types of things. And it was well received within the community to see that not only were we concentrating on major arterials, but we were actually going to look at all of our local roads also, which is something that frankly get neglected by a lot of agencies simply because they don't get the traffic that your major arterials and collectors get on a daily basis. So this is one of the treatments we did were slurry seals. Our slurry seals, we do a little bit different. We do add fiber to all of our slurry seals just to help structurally a little bit. It's not something that is going to fix a failing road by any means, but it does help hold cracks together. Those types of things. It's actually a very nominal cost. For this project, at a 1.65 million, the fiber cost us about $60,000 to add into the entire project. So when we look at those types of things, we do try and use technologies that will help us, knowing that while it would be great to be able to maintain these roads again in the next 3 to 5 years, the chances of that happening with the funding that's available is pretty slim. Yes, sir. So no, we do hire it out. This job was primed by Consolidated Engineering Inc. And American Paving Systems was their sub who performed most of the maintenance on the roadway. So right here, you're looking at a Cape seal. So differences between Cape seals, slurry seals. Essentially, a Cape seal is a chip seal, which is really what you see down here. Essentially, a new layer of rock that is put down, and then we cover it with essentially a slurry, and that becomes a Cape seal. So this is another one of the treatments. This is generally for roads that are a little worse off than something that generally needs to be slurry sealed. Slurry seal and Cape seal, they're both kind of rejuvenating, if you will, as opposed to reconstruction. You can see in the left-hand picture where the road really smooths out. That's the finished product of what is a Cape seal. So everything that you see on the screen, the rough road is the chips laid down. The smooth road on the left-hand side is actually the Cape seal or the chip seal that's been overlaid with the slurry. And all of the cracks were crack filled before we laid down any chip or slurry. And that just helps to hopefully preserve it even a little bit longer. We're trying to get the biggest bang for our buck when we do these types of projects.
And how long do you expect this to last?
So general pavement maintenance is always an interesting topic. So how long do we expect it to last? A lot longer than we should. So when you look at, even when you lay down a new road, you're looking within the first 2 to 3 years, you're going to lay down a slurry seal. Another 3 to 5 years after that, you're going to do essentially a Cape seal, and then at like year 10, in between year 10 and 15, you're going to do generally a grind and overlay. Now, like I said, those treatments, while we would all love to do those as a jurisdiction, we just don't have the money to do that. So, I mean, when we look at these, we've put them into our pavement management program, and we will monitor these roads probably over the next 10, 15, 20 years, and hope that we really don't have to do much with them over that period of time. Being local roads, they're not subjected to really heavy truck traffic or anything like that. They do last longer. But these roads probably haven't been done in 30 or 40 years when it comes down to it.
And how many miles, you may have already mentioned that, but how many miles with Cape Seal and how many was 3?
It was about half and half, so about 2 miles of each that we did between Cape Seal and Slurry Seal. And all of that is really based on, our visual observation, the pavement management program that we do have, and then obviously there's a lot of crack seal that goes in to try and fill in cracks that are on the roadway also as we move through the process.
Can you please turn on the mic? Thank you.
I apologize. Did you get any matching funds for your ADA work in this project, or?
No.
This is all strictly your Measure L?
This is all strictly Measure L. Most of our projects we do, we get a lot of matching funds. We need them, frankly. But this project was funded strictly through our Measure L local funds. So the ADA ramps, like I said, we did 71 of them. This is a big issue in our city and most cities. You try and do ADA upgrades when you can. Generally, my rule of thumb is anything that's a Cape Seal or higher, we will do ADA ramps in. Now, when we looked at the Slurry Seal portion of this project, we went ahead and did the ramps in those areas also. And these ramps were all old, didn't have truncated domes, anything like that. So it was a big upgrade for a lot of these neighborhoods. The other thing you'll see on that right-hand picture towards the left-hand side, you'll see a new drain inlet. We did replace quite a few drain inlets. For some reason, the low point on most of these drain inlets were in the middle of the ADA ramp. And so we needed to move those off to the side, regrade it a little bit so that we could get proper drainage and you're not stepping onto a grate as you move into crossing the street. Striping. So with any job, once we do our Cape Seals and our Slurry Seals, we did an entire restriping of everything that needed to be restriped. We didn't really add any new striping. These are all local roads. So stop bars. This subdivision actually has a couple of speed bumps in it. But so that's where you see this, just notifying the driver that there are speed bumps there. And so we did restripe. We restriped the entire area with in-kind striping, and that way everybody can see, everybody can know where stop bars are, things of that. They all tend to fade with time for sure. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions from the committee? Mike, could you kind of give us, how are you guys forecasting going forward? Do you have like a 3-year idea of where you're going with your maintenance? So when, let's say the community says, okay, when are you coming to, what neighborhood are you doing next? You guys have a pretty good idea, of where you're going out for, is it a 3-year horizon, 5-year horizon, or 2-year horizon?
So we do have a 5-year capital improvement program, and we program jobs out into the at least 5th year. Some of those jobs they kind of alternate between, say, a Slurry Seal, a maintenance project, all the way to, hey, we've got sidewalks that are out of compliance and we're going to spend some money on sidewalks. I would note that we spent about $750,000 on ADA issues aside from this project this past year on sidewalk issues, mainly trip hazards and those types of things. But yes, we do plan these out into the future, trying to carefully split them between the larger thoroughfares. We've got some major projects that we're using Measure L on, Crow's Landing from Whitmore to Service, Whitmore from Morgan to Crow's Landing, which is actually multi-jurisdictional between the city of Modesto, us, and the county. And then we also have Moffett, that is a grind and overlay project. So we try and balance it out with all the funding that we do get, and that way we can show that we're, you know, one, spreading it through the community, and two, we're not just concentrating on just the big roads. We're actually concentrating on, you know, the local roads within the neighborhoods also.
That's great. And how are you guys making that visible to the community? So when the public is curious how their Measure L dollars are being spent, how are you making that visible in terms of this is what we've done and this is what's coming down the pipe?
So I do a presentation every year to the Planning Commission on what we plan to do. We have our signs like we're required, you know, by the measure. So we post our signs. We make sure that those signs are actually visible on kind of main entrances to roads. We had signs all over this because it was done in 3 or 4 different neighborhoods. And so every one of those neighborhoods did have 2 signs in them, so that they knew, you know, hey, these are when you spend money in Stanislaus County, this is what that money is going towards.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I have one question. What's your, I should know, we should know this already, but I don't remember. What is your annual budget per year? And, have you been guilty in your community of storing up or saving up or
So
spend about a
So right now we are expending quite a bit of money. So we generally in Measure L funding we get somewhere around $2 to $2.2 million in Measure L. We get about 2.3 million in SB1 or RMRA. And then we also get grant money. So we generally don't store our money up. Now, I can't say that that was the case before I had come on. I've been with the city about 2 years now. And there has been, and we do have to store up for some of the larger projects, you know, as we move through those. But we also like to look for roads that, hey, does it need a sewer line so that we can have sewer pay for some of this? We can have water pay for some of it using water funds if a water line needs to be replaced. So we try to get as creative as possible to make our dollar go as far as we can because we know that those funds are so limited. But, you know, this next fiscal year will be a big year. I'm sure some residents will be quite upset as we will have quite a bit of the city torn up. And, you know, we try and communicate to our citizens. As a matter of fact, I was just saying it last night at our Planning Commission meeting. You know, everybody says the roads are horrible. And while I don't disagree, we don't have a magic wand to make it easy to construct, and construction is inconvenient. And so when we do projects like these, especially big projects, there is going to be inconvenience to the community. But in the end, it definitely makes for a much better product. So.
Michael, last subject. So the city of Ceres, we are still outstanding the 2023-2024 audit for your Measure L funding. And I understand that you don't work in the finance department. So what are the steps, if you can tell us, what are the steps that are going on inside of Ceres right now so that we can get your information on a more timely basis?
So that's a great question. So when we came in, when the new leadership team came into Ceres 2.5 years ago, we were way behind on even our city financial audits, to the point that at one point in time we got put on Caltrans do not authorize list. which is a huge deal for me because now I can't pull down grant funding. I can't do anything like that. So I work very closely with the finance department. Our fiscal year 23 audit has been completed and has been submitted. Our fiscal year 24 audit is on schedule to be completed at the end of this month. And once that is adopted by council, we will be getting it over to you. The steps that we really took, I mean, we have a small finance department, so we hired a outside accounting firm to help deal with our bank requisitions and other financial items that we had kind of outstanding to get these audits done. I believe we've spent somewhere close to $200,000 with that consultant. They've done an absolutely stellar job. They actually created a program that extracts things, that makes things a whole lot easier for finance to go through. And so going forward, you know, once we have our fiscal year 24 audit done, we will actually roll right into fiscal year 25. Frankly, fiscal year 25 should be completed by the end of this month, but it's not going to be. But in this process, we will be caught up, and therefore our next fiscal audits will stay on track when it comes down to fiscal audit reporting.
So just as you're aware, the master funding agreement between StanCog and City of Ceres requires you to turn in your financial audit by March 31st. So for 2025, it doesn't look like you'll be able to make that. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
That no, it's not even what I am thinking. It's what I know. Our fiscal year 24 audit will be completed by March 31st. And then we'll take it to council for acceptance, and then they will roll straight into fiscal year 25. And so, you know, with everything, and we're keeping the consultant firm on to get us caught all the way up, and then that way we are completely caught up. We understand that that's what the master funding agreement says, but we have taken steps to make sure that one, we're getting caught up, and two, we stay caught up. And so I think that's an important note that, you know, we're not sitting there going, oh, well, we're going to get caught up sooner or later. No, we are getting caught up right now. That process has been going on for the better part of a year and a half. And so we are making sure that we get caught up.
We appreciate your forthrightness on this. I will just tell you that probably in the audits that come from here, there'll be findings of you guys being delinquent. Yep. And we will report those to the policy board. So we appreciate you being upfront, but our job is dependent on you guys turning in your reports on a timely manner. And so we'll keep pressing on that point.
Understood.
Thank you. Okay.
I have
One more question.
question. You mentioned, I'm always concerned about the marketing of this, so it passes again. You mentioned that you're reporting, you do probably the council, and then you do the planning commission once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Could I suggest, and maybe this would apply to others, that you get a program in your department to create some kind of a speakers bureau or go out to the service clubs? We feel a great sense of no one knows. They see the cones periodically and the interruptions, but they don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, they're not putting two and two together, and that this is really from their own money, and their own money is going back right into the community with matching funds too. So could I suggest that you go out into the community besides the two places you mentioned and really let everybody know what's happened? I know that StanCog policy board has also funded some money to do this, but nothing like the local people going out and looking them in the eye and saying, your money is doing good, and this is how it's happened.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that outreach can be more robust, you know, and we'll make that effort to get that word out that we are using these funds in the most responsible way that we can possibly use it to take care of our roads.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jose, could you introduce our next?
Our next speaker is a different name than what is on the agenda. It's not Bill Morris, it's going to be Christopher Fisher from the city of Turlock. Christopher Fisher is going to be speaking to the Measure L balances topic. Christopher.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, members of the Measure L Oversight Committee. Thanks for the opportunity to present tonight. I'm proud to be here and I'm proud to serve my community as the Municipal Services Director for the City of Turlock. Tonight's presentation provides an overview of Measure L fund balances, year-to-year movement, what we have programmed, what we have encumbered, and we're going to be a brief update on what, measurable, deliverable progress. I really just want to clearly demonstrate fiscal stewardship, compliance, and responsible multi-year capital planning. Oh, forgot about that delay. Good thing I didn't double click. Let's start with historical fund balances. You can see up on the slides as of June 30th, 2024, we ended the year with about $19 million. As of June 30th, 2025, we ended up at the end of the year with about $21 million. We're projecting this year's fiscal year end will end with $9.5 million. I think it's for us, I think the message is it's important to understand that fluctuations between years are driven primarily by project timing, construction schedules, bid awards, and reimbursement timing that shifts expenditures between fiscal years. The projected balance that we have for the end of this fiscal year, again, reflects anything that we've already programmed or committed, and there isn't really any idle or unused funds. Moves, there we go. Program expenditures include any projects that we've awarded, projects that are in design. We like to encumber those funds so that we're not overcommitting. Measure L is a portion of like how we work through our roads program, and it's certainly very important. And we have multi-year capital commitments. Our city policy requires funds to be available when appropriated before the contracts are awarded. It really just ensures that we're not overcommitting any of the funds. If we take a look back, it's waiting. Fiscal year balances, you said we have about 12.5 million in streets, 6 million in traffic. Bicycle and pedestrian was about 2.7 million, and transit was slightly over 23,000 or slightly under 23,000. These balances are restricted by the Measure L categories, and we can, you're aware that we can't shift the funds between the categories. We do see a revenue of about 6.7 million in expenditures, about 4.3 million for fiscal year 24-25. And I did that wrong back. There we go. Moving on to 25-26, we'll end this year with about 3 million in streets, about 5 million in traffic, about 1.5 million in bicycle and pedestrian, and about 25,000 in transit. This year, we'll again have about 6.8 million in revenue and about 18.6 million in expenditures. The projected balances demonstrate just our active deployment of the funds. Where the balances remain higher, it reflects the accumulation for the larger multi-year roadway projects, and we can go in a little bit about a couple of those. Sometimes we have some design and right-of-way phases that precede construction that can delay some things, and then really contract retention and timing differences. Moving on to our strategy for fiscal stewardship. We do have multi-year pavement project management planning. We deliver larger bundled projects for cost efficiency. It saves us on a lot on mobilization. We can bundle our streets together, and also maintaining a sufficient cash flow prior to the award and avoiding debt when possible by cash funding projects. Now, we're not completely free from debt, and we do have to issue debt for some of the projects, and we'll go over some of the progress that we've made. The encumbered funds, represent legally committed contracts, and the program funds represent any board-approved upcoming projects. And we move on to the fun stuff, which is measurable progress, and I can't get these pages apart. Forgive me. And I think the true measure of our progress is in our project delivery. we include, roadway miles rehabilitated, any of the signals that we've upgraded, bicycle and pedestrian improvements that are often overlooked. We're delivering those, and we support transit improvements. So Measure L funds are actively improving infrastructure and balances, convert to visible community improvements to each construction season. And what you'll see, and I do want to address the perception of the unspent funds. And I agree, that sometimes those funds don't look good at the end of the year, but I want to be certain that we explain that we're not inactive. We're actively planning. And we're using them strategically, deliberately in alignment with our voter intent, with our council wishes. And we do remain committed to the transparent accountability to this board. Measurable impacts of Measure L. That's a play on words there, I guess. Didn't mean to say it that way. While there were many improvements that were made possible by Measure L, one program in particular has made a remarkable impact to our city, and that's our roads program. And just to give you a little bit of background, in 2022, we went through the measuring. We recreated Street Saver, and we had a PCI index, and the city's pavement in 2022 was 62. And we looked at, the do nothing scenario, what that network would look like, today and by, in 2025, and that would have been 50. So we would have been down 12 points in just a couple of short years. Through Measure L and through our roads program. Instead of having a projected 12-point drop over the years, our current PCI is 60, which really only limited or reduced our degradation by 2 points. And I guess what I'm saying is that means Measure L has helped us actively preserve approximately 10 PCI points, and really changed our deterioration curve. So these points for our community represent real changes. And then that we're deploying them. So I want to give a couple of pictures of just like, how we started. We focused on our residential streets. A lot of the areas have been neglected for many, many years. And whether, we like to admit it or not, our friends and neighbors are walking these streets. And, they become, safety hazard in some conditions. And so what we did was we focused it on packages that changed the neighborhood. We saved on mobilization charges, design charges, and that's how we effectively measure. Now, did it take a little bit longer to do these packages and do the design? Absolutely. But we believe that the effort is well worth it. Going. This is another area that's really close to, darn it, I gave away the surprise at the end. So you can see that this is one of our older neighborhoods. This neighborhood was built in between the 40s and 50s, and the pavement was in horrible condition. It lacked sidewalks. It lacked traffic calming measures. It was a busy intersection next to Canal, which is a major arterial. And you can see from the work that we did, we've taken safety, and of course, the sidewalks have been added where applicable, traffic calming measures to help ensure that our residents are safe as they travel down the street. And then to these residents, and when we go out and we do these projects, we make sure that we go out, the engineer goes out, our roads program manager goes out, and myself go out, and we talk to folks. We find that one, that's the best way to get the word out that their tax dollars are doing good, but it also gives the opportunity for them to tell us like what we see. And a lot of times, we hear it's like, it's about time. And, and quite frankly, it really is about time, that we do these things. So Measure L has really helped us perform and transform a lot of these neighborhoods. Now, moving on to this year, we're going to be working on several really large projects. Would include Gear Road, as well as Golden State Boulevard. But I do want to touch a little bit on bicycle and pedestrian programming, where I think we've fallen short on this is we haven't spent the money where we, as well as we should, but we are committing it. we're leveraging the funding to better our position for grant applications. Having the funds in hand really help us get these things. And we intend to apply for ATP Cycle 8 coming up. And I believe that's in less than a month, where we reserve the Measure L funds, and that really puts us in a significantly improved scoring competitiveness. We spent about 400,000 in pedestrian signal upgrades, and that means we're going through and we're upgrading our push buttons to walk. We're upgrading all our signals to have the most the reflective tape and those things, and really improving the safety, especially in when we have fog and weather. That we find that help. We've been awarded the Safe Streets for All planning grant. So we're going to complete our safety action plan, which will unlock eligibility for the implementation grants that are currently available where they weren't before. When it comes to transportation management, these funds are used to maintain sufficient, provide local match for federal grants. These funds will support the Countryside Drive signalization project. For those of you that aren't from Turlock, that's where Chick-fil-A is going, and we anticipate significant additional traffic, and these lights will really help us get ahead of the curve on that. And then we have 3 CMAQ applications in our current review. We're anticipating those be awarded. We hope that we get them in May. We have allocated $1 million for detection upgrades to replace aging signal loops. And the signal loops for us tend to be a problem, especially when we're as aggressive as we are on the roadway project. We figure it's a great time not to spend the additional money to put those wires in the ground and move to an overhead combo unit. So due to the timing of all this, we will carry some funds into 26, 27. We're also evaluating a phased multi-year $1 million annual commitment to modernize the entire network of our, and we'll use Measure, and Measure L is really the only funding source capable of supporting the scale of system conversion. A little bit on how we advertise. These are the signs. These are some of our projects. They're exciting. What you're seeing on the bottom is the full depth reclamation. That's something that the city of Turlock has done sparingly, and until now we fully embrace that. That is a really, really good project model. We're finding that we can get in there really quickly, and it saves us a lot on disposal and haul off charges. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Fisher? Yes.
Going back to the PCI you were speaking about, you said it dropped 62 to 60 from 2022 to now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What was the delta or the difference prior to 2022? I mean, did it slow down drastically? Was it significantly dropping every year, and then this, what you guys are doing help stop it, or?
Yeah, great question. So if we did nothing, we didn't do any of these projects or streets projects, our payment PCI would have gone from 62 to 50. Today it would be standing at 50 if we had not done any of these projects. So what we essentially did is preserve 10 points of degradation. So, we hope this next year we'll actually move forward and be higher than and we will move forward and we'll be higher than the year than when we first measured it.
Right. So the do you have an estimate of when it's going the opposite side of the spectrum, or?
It will be this year,
Oh,
this
okay.
fiscal year. We've touched about 40 miles of streets. Now, Turlock is not a large city. It's about 250 miles of center line. So 40 miles. And I think I'm gonna misquote this, but I think that we've touched almost 125 street names. So, significant investment in our roads program. We started out kind of, small, and every year the amount of roads that we've touched has doubled. So we're really proud of the progress we're making. We're getting better at managing these projects right now. It is a little bit chaotic to drive down Turlock because there's a lot of roads that are in construction. And moving on later this year, we will be starting Gear Road, which is like really the heartbeat of Turlock.
Right. And just a comment, I really liked the funding from Measure L, or displaying the funding for Measure L and general fund being zero. That, I guess,
Yeah.
that really hits it home with Measure L, the importance of it.
Yeah. And and we also do things, we have us technical people are not great at social media. So I have people that help me with that kind of stuff. So we advertise that, and we get a lot of positive response from that, and some of the complaints that we have, that we see from all of this workers, like, well, you fixed my road and now everyone's speeding. So, you know, kind of, it's
Double-edged sword.
it's a double-edged sword, but it's a good problem to have because the work that we're doing, the quality of work we're doing is going to, prevent us from spending a lot more money in the future because we're going to do it right. We're going to do it right the first time.
Yeah, the importance of ensuring Measure L continues on, past the sunset is huge. And I think that and advertising that is what's going to do it. So that's all I got.
Yeah, first of all, I want to congratulate you on Pedras. I have, through the years, even though I don't live in Turlock, I go down Pedras a lot, coming to an office building there. And big difference, unbelievable difference on Pedras. And secondly is, how many people know about your PCI? That graph is very good, I think. And again, I go back to the informing people. How many people know what Measure L has done in your community? And that's, I think, very an interesting thing. And maybe years down the road, we'll do a poll and find out how many people really know in this county how much Measure L has made a difference to their everyday roads.
We maintain a website that lists all of the roads and the progress. We do update the council on a quarterly basis. However, I think we can always do more. And I think what I've seen has been the most positive is well thought out positive messages on social media. And they tend to just kind of grow and multiply. And the other thing for that is being consistent about that. So we have direction from our folks that, anytime that we start a road or we finish a road, we put something out, but then we also make sure that we're consistently saying something every 2 weeks. And I think we could do a better job at that.
We would ask everybody to do a better job.
Yep.
Thank you. So I will say some of the reason some of this has been an issue is that this isn't the first year that you had a large fund balance. And it sounds like when we do the 2024-2025 audit, there's going to be, again, a large fund balance. And it sounds like for fiscal year 26, you're going to spend quite a bit. And that's great. But especially in Turlock, there was quite a bit of consternation about roads about 4 or 5 years ago, where there was even talk about using local general funds on roads. And so when us as an oversight committee see large balances and then a community saying, well, our roads are in horrible condition, do we need to use general funds? We're saying, okay, let's look at how Measure L funds are being expended. That would be the first, that's kind of how we got here. And we brought this up in the 2023 audit. And obviously, because it came up again in the 2024 audit, that's how we decided we need to raise this issue to a little bit of a higher profile. I will say one of the things that I am concerned about is when we were working to get Measure L passed, we did not say to the voters, hey, pass Measure L and your PCI will get lower slower. The promise was that your PCI was going to get better. So I love everyone else's enthusiasm. For me, to the going out and saying, yes, your roads are worse as a community, but it could have been a lot worse than it is. What we promised to them was give us a 0.5-cent sales tax and we'll raise the PCI of the community. And so I am encouraged that you said, overall that you're on your way to actually raising the overall PCI. Measure L has now been in place for 9 years in terms of how you've had funding. And our goal with Measure L is that everyone would be able to almost touch every neighborhood in their city within the first 10 years. Now that was a very lofty goal set by some political leadership, and maybe that wasn't relevant, but our goal is for you to, of your 240 miles of road, to increase the PCI index. And I am very encouraged that you're beginning to leverage your bike and ped funds. You know, there is there was so much money available, and we have been poised because of how the rules were written at the state for ATP funding. It's changed a little bit in the last few years, but we still do well in the competitive grants. And so, the California Transportation Commission is willing to work with you to help you with your applications and coach you on how to get the best out of your applications. I really encourage you to use that. And then I'm very encouraged that you're using funding for your CMAQ. That's very important to leverage your CMAQ funds. I would like to see a little bit more. You were very general in how you're going to go forward and expend and take your balance from 25 back down to 9. I would like to see, I think if when you're in the community, it would be nice to say, okay, it's going to go to these projects and be a little bit more specific of where the funding's going to be. Because right now your presentation, quite honestly, it just says, hey, we're going to do better and we're going to do this. It doesn't tell the community, this is how we're going to do it specifically. So go, or what we've done. So I know that your community has to work to upload information to our website to show what we've been done. And hopefully we're working together in that. But obviously this is going to be a bit of an issue again in the 2025 audit. We will, now that we're aware of it, we'll probably ask for some written to see how, by the time we see that audit, you'll probably be pretty far along into your fiscal year 2026. And hopefully you'll be able to give us a written report. You won't have to come back, just give us a paragraph of, you know, how you're doing on getting that fund balance down to $9 million, which is your project.
Yeah, I'm happy to come back. But one other thing I neglected to mention is we've also undertaken a maintenance program under the roads program, which is going to help us tremendously. And we're leveraging assessment district funds and multiple different funds to really tie those neighborhoods together. You know, I think in the first few years, you know, you saw these sporadic, but when it's all complete and done, and I could bring back, our little images where you just start adding the streets that we've touched, and you can see, it's a really good graphic.
Are you doing a lot of your seal work in-house, or are you outsourcing?
We're outsourcing it.
Okay, are there any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you coming in. All right, Jose, next.
Our next presenter is Thomas Spankowski. He's the Director of Public Works for the City of Newman. Thomas?
Thank you, Jose Luis. Thank you, committee and staff. I'm here to address the comment of excessive unspent fund balances for the City of Newman. I got to use a fancy one. Nice. All right. So currently, City of Newman, we are seeing as of the June 30th, 2024, we saw a fund balance approximately 1.4 million. June 30th, 2025, we saw 1.9, and cash balance of February 24th from my finance director is 2.1. And so I want to show our Measure L project background. So in 2023, that's the most recent time we took our capital improvement projects to the City Council to do with Measure L spending. And we had council identified with staff and community input the 5 identified areas. Currently, we are planning our project in area 1 and 2. It has a fancy thing, huh? Let's see. I listen, and then there we go. Okay, here we go. So area 1, we're calling this project our L Street project because the primary piece of it is our L Street, and then we have a bit of M Street here. So Cost summary by project area. So it was identified in 2023 dollars. Area 1 and Area 2 would come out to approximately $2.2 million. Our updated cost estimate, sorry. There we go. Our updated cost estimate for our Measure L project, our L Street project, is approximately $3.5 million, where we're leveraging some CDBG money in that project also. So current Measure L projects located in Area 1 and 2, as I said, we refer to it our L Street project. Currently in the between the 60% and 90% design phase. Our current estimate, as I said, was approximately 3.5 million, which will have that a cost estimate update at our 90% design review. And L Street project is on target to be bid in the late spring 2026. I'm expecting it to hit the street in early May. And we are looking for a pretty aggressive project completion by the end of 2026 calendar year. So it will include a complete structural rebuild of the L Street stretch and the piece of the M Street there. And as I mentioned, we'll be also leveraging some CDBG funds for that. And I wanted to address the excessive unspent fund balance. I want to remind that nothing in Measure L rules or agreement that we cannot hold more than 3 years of annual revenues. There is no excessive unspent funds, as excessive is not defined. Additionally, City of Newman has been very forward since the beginning of Measure L that we'll be saving up our funds for multiple year projects. And as such, we are at that point where we're using our unspent fund balance on our Measure L project, the L Street project. This buildup allows us to maximize the funds spent on actual street and road improvements and not waste money on admin fees and mobilization costs. Similar to what other speakers have said, it's really using that money for the actual street rebuild and not admin mobilization or spread out through different parts of town. And as Newman is a relatively small community, we do take in very minimal amounts of money, and we try to leverage that as best as we can on various parts of the city with community input, council input, and be able to get these done. Now, I do want to say that we heard some great ideas on making sure the community is aware of what projects, and I will be returning to Newman and taking some of those in consideration. I do like the signage that Turlock has had up, and in the past on our projects, there have been outreach during and before and during and after. Our council is as all councils are very concerned with their community, and so they do have input. They have their input on these projects and where they're at based on our community input. I would say that we do rely on a lot of the community of the Measure L that Jean and her team are developing, and we do look forward to that being in place. But we will do a better job at making sure how we're locally using those funds do get out to the public. So I will take any questions, and my contact's there if anybody has some additional questions. I would really like to bring back our Measure L project once it is completed, even maybe a in progress project report when it is underway. And if I could preliminarily kind of say, hey, maybe January 27, if everything's on track, I'd like to bring that back and really show what we did use our unspent fund balances on. And we do expect to, once this project is complete, to start saving up. We'll be reassessing our capital improvement project list that we would use for Measure L, and doing additional community outreach and having the council ultimate decision on what areas to work on. We would likely continue in area 4 and 5. and some parts of 3. 3 is we're currently working on area 3 with multiple funds, CDBG, community development block grant funds, along with our water and sewer funds because as I believe Christopher mentioned, we as cities like to, if we're opening up that road, don't want to go back and do it again for another piece of the project. So let me see if I can blow that up for you. There we go. So area 3 here, it's very piecemeal, if you will, but it is overall neighborhood connection with a Von Renner Elementary School here on the south side. And so as you can see, it will be reconstruction along with water and sewer as needed. That's currently being developed and worked on. And so we hope to leverage the funds there, not necessarily Measure L funds, but we are improving having these Measure L funds for some additional areas of the projects help us leverage other areas with other funds. Additionally, we do have, I believe, 2 CMAQ projects in review for this current round, and we're hoping to see funding through that. We think our projects are relatively competitive in that. And yes, so I can answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. I do want to just mention right off the bat that you got kind of caught up in the wash.
I'm sorry
so to
about that.
speak. Our attention was more on Modesto and Turlock in terms of the excessive funds, but because you were 3 years, you were caught up in the wash. We do recognize that Waterford, Houston, and Newman are special cases and cannot do projects every year with a small amount of money that they get.
We do
So
appreciate that.
They do projects about every 3 to 5 years, and we do understand that. So hopefully there was no offense taken by our comments because we were just kind of wanting to know where we were going with that. I do appreciate your presentation, Justin.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. First on the L Street, the original cost estimate in 23, I believe, was 2.2, and the current one is 3.5. Is that correct? I just want to make sure I understand.
Yes, the preliminary cost estimates in working from the 30% or the 60% and 90%, we're sitting at about 3.5 for total project cost, not necessarily Measure L expenditures. I'll have a better breakdown of that cost estimate when we get to our 90% because there are some storm drain improvements that we'll be pulling out of our sewer fund along with CDBG leveraged monies for that too. And but we don't expect to go much above our fund balance currently.
Okay. And then how long did you say to complete? I think you said you'd come back.
Yeah. So currently we have a pretty aggressive timeline of this project being completed by the end of 2026 calendar year. And I'd like, once that project is done, like to come back and have some nice pictures and visuals for both the committee and for the public that are interested in that, along with just ensuring that we are using those Measure L funds responsibly for our community and in the best manner possible, identified both by council and community input.
All right. Thank you. And then the other item is, I noticed if you go back to the area map.
There we go.
There's not a whole lot of crack and slurry seal. Is that because of the really bad condition of roads, or I see most of this stuff is, full repave or 3-inch pavement?
Yeah. Yes. So there are quite a bit that requires that and not crack and seal. We did use most recently. As of the summer of 25, we finished a crack seal program not identified in this area. Some of it in a different map we use for our SB1 funding. And so we used our SB1 funds for that crack and seal, approximately about $500,000. I'm giving give and take a couple dollars. And which was in two primary areas of our city, the northeast and the southwest side of town.
Got it. And sorry, I'll try to be brief. And then, do you guys have a pavement management program to
We-
address the, so you can do slurry instead of having to do these full?
Yes,
Okay.
so we do have a program, and it was excuse me, it was used in identifying our areas for our crack and seal, and we will continue using that. We do need to do a concentrated effort on getting that updated. We had some staff turnover. I've been on board about 1 year, about a year and a half, a year and 8 months. We had a previous public works director had left or had passed, and so there was a gap in time between those two and between myself and the last public works director. So there are some things that need to be updated in that process, and including the PCI index for a city of Newman.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Okay, any other questions for Thomas?
All I would say is ditto to what I've said to everybody else.
Yeah, and I do want to say I appreciate the input, and as Christopher said, we are more technical and more boots on the ground than some, and so having an idea and input from people that might see it from a outreach and or community engagement perspective really helps, especially in Newman, where we do rotate the hat quite often. And we have a Facebook and our city website, of course, and I think we'll venture into Instagram eventually. So for our community, we do they do respond to outreach. We have tabling events that we touch on many of the programs the city has, and I want to increase that outreach during those tabling events to include our fund usages across the board, both Measure L, SB1, various other fundings we get like CMAC and STBG in those table outreach events. So I do appreciate the ideas and seeing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you for the pizza. Yeah, thank you, Luis.
Jose, is there anything else you would like to add on this section of the agenda?
Just a little bit. We have a third speaker lined up for the April 14th meeting. That would be the City of Modesto, Toby Wells. He could not present tonight, but he's got a robust presentation scheduled. And I heard some of the feedback and questions, and I'm going to let him know what are some of the things this committee is looking for. That's all I have to share for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to the next item on the agenda, which is the follow-ups to the audits that we reviewed in December. And Jean Folletta will be leading that discussion.
Yes, thank you so much. So in front of you, you have the draft STAN RTA audit. This is one of the ones that was missing from when we were looking in December. They have one finding, which you can, which is on page 16 of the report, that basically says they were not submitting their quarterly reports in a timely fashion. They do have a corrective action plan. Their corrective action plan has already been starting to be administered by process standardization, enhanced tracking and monitoring, staff training, and quality control review. The Series 2024 audit update, as we said, is expected, or as we heard, is expected in April. For the 2025 audit updates, we expect to have, we're moving quite quickly through those. So we're expecting to have those audit updates by the end of March. And we hope to bring those, the STAN RTA and the series audit to be, the STAN RTA and series 2024 audit to you at your April 14th meeting.
Okay, can you just, I want to make sure I heard you correctly. So you're saying that most have people already turned in, are the jurisdictions turning in their materials for the 2024-2025 audit
That
right
is
now?
correct. Mhm.
Okay, and are most on track, other than Series and Stan RTA, are most others on track to
Yes,
meet the deadline on the 31st?
that is my understanding at this time, yes.
Okay, and then how long does your auditor need to look before they can, what is what does it take for them to review them before they can produce work material on them?
From my understanding, they will be able to, when they say to give it to us at March 31st, that's the completed audit.
So, so on all the jurisdictions other than Series and Stan RTA, they'll have a first draft of an audit for them, for us to review by that time? Is that what you're saying?
They did not give me 100% on all of them, but they said that they're moving along quite nicely. What I can do is get a little bit more detail from them and send that out to you in an email if you
Oh,
would
no,
like.
that's good news.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any questions about the RTA audit, draft audit that was sent out to everyone? So going forward, I still don't understand because RTA's issues I don't think are the same as series. I'm not understanding why they're delayed. Do we know why it's taking them so long to turn in items? Is there some federal funding issue that we're not aware of?
No, I don't think there's anything with as far as Stan RTA is concerned, anything like that. I think it was more or less of just having the staff time to turn around the information.
Okay. Because we're a relatively small part of their overall budget.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Anyone have any questions on, so I just want to make sure I understand that we are so everyone is on track, other than Series and RTA, everyone's on track to have all the materials in. So they've already turned them into, do you have a portal or something they turn them into, or?
The auditors do have a portal. What I think I'll do is I will get a little bit more detail from the auditor on the 2025 audits and just send that out to you in an email if that's okay ahead of the next meeting.
Okay.
April 14th?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. What else next on your list? Jean, is there anything else on your list?
No, that concludes my
Okay,
report.
so other audit questions, or maybe you're not the right person to ask, but we talked about the scope of work for the 2024-2025 audit, and that we asked staff to go back and look at the ordinance again, specifically on the ordinance section 9.04 on maintenance of effort, and whether or not there needed to be a separate paragraph that identifies that. Have you done that before they start doing all this work? Have you made sure your scope of work that you've given the auditor is in compliance with the ordinance, and or do you need more time to discuss that?
Jose Luis, did you have time?
Jean and I had a conversation, and she was reaching out to the consultant today to confirm that for each audit, we will have maintenance of effort information. And I wasn't sure, did we get an answer today?
We haven't got an answer from, we sent them a reminder today.
But we are clear that this committee expects to see clear information for each agency that they are fulfilling their maintenance of effort requirement.
So question for you, and maybe this is going to be handled separately. What is the status of the administrative expense audit?
Kate will be going over in her interim.
Okay, that's fine.
Wait, I think he asked about the audit, not about the 1% marketing
I'm asking about the administrative expense audit.
audit.
Yeah. So you'll cover
Oh.
that in your presentation. Is that what you? No?
The administrative expense audit, we have not had, you mean to tell you how we're spending our administrative 1%?
Well, we have not received an administrative expense audit, which is legally required under the ordinance on section 4.03. We have not received one for 2023, 2024. And I'm going to ask a question because I don't recall seeing one for 2023, 2022, 2023 either. And we haven't seen, and that one, because there isn't an agreement, that one is actually should be able to be done relatively quickly after the fiscal year, after you close your fiscal year books.
Okay,
So
Which we haven't done for 2 years and we're working on it right now.
I understand. So when we asked about this in December, the answer was it'll be ready in March. Is that still the answer? Is that,
we don't have that ready at this time, no.
It's going to be ready. We think that we'll be able to actually complete our audit in the next month. And so we should be able to come back.
In the next couple of months, I
Yeah.
did get a hold of the auditors today, and it won't be next month, it'll be next
Okay.
couple months.
okay. Can you give us the last time the administrative expense audit was done? What was it? What's our baseline? When was the last time that one was submitted? Because I went back in my files today, I couldn't find the last one that was done.
I would have to go back and look.
Could I make a request that you find the last one that was done and you send it to the oversight committee and just check to make sure that we did one for, because I don't even show one for fiscal year 2023. Maybe there was one and it just, I didn't see, I don't have it. I'm pretty good at keeping records, but I may not have kept it.
Okay.
But I would like to see, okay, when did we last have it so that we move forward, that we know that we're moving forward on solid footing. Okay, so the action item under that is that you're going to find out when the last time the administrative expense audit was done, send it to us, and then give us an update on when you guys will be able to provide the administrative expense audit for 2023-24 and then 2024-25.
Yes.
I mean, I can't be sure, but it seems like it would just be included in our audit, Jean.
It should
Just-
be, I would think it would be, but I do want to go
Yeah.
back and double check.
Okay.
Do we have a Measure L expense oversight budget for 25, 26 that you know that you're budgeting towards?
For the next fiscal year,
Or the fiscal year that we're in?
well, we didn't
Budget.
do a budget. So we're working on a budget now. We did do an OWP, so there's probably a number in the OWP for the 1%.
Yes, there is.
What
The
does OWP stand?
overall work plan, that's what the agency was using as a budget until this year. We're going to go to the board in April with a couple of budget scenarios and a discussion on how they'd like to move forward. But that's a new process.
Okay, all right. And maybe this is I want to make sure I'm asking the right person. So is going forward the assembling of an annual report. I don't believe this agency has done an annual report.
We have done one, but not for the last fiscal year. And Jose Luis is working on that. And we are, in fact, behind. We acknowledge that, and we will have it for you in September.
So there is an annual report for 2023-24?
There is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's posted on the new Measure L website.
So, okay, okay, great. So we still just need the 24-25.
Correct.
Correct. And then as soon as we're done with that, we'll probably, we have to start the 25-26 one because we owe that to you in 180 days after
Yeah,
the fiscal year.
December
So we
27th,
owe it
2020.
to you at the end of the year.
Yes, correct. But at our last meeting, we talked about that you would have a draft of that at the March meeting, and so that's not happening. I just want to confirm that's not happening.
That is
When do you think a draft is going to happen again? Just
September.
September. Okay, as it relates to the annual report, I would just note that the last time this committee saw an annual report, it made a lot of comments on how the annual report could be more transparent as it relates to the 50% of the measures allocations for local streets and roads. And so I'd just like to make sure that we go back and look at that we last saw an annual report that we reviewed in August of 2024. So it's been a while.
So I think maybe one thing that we could do to make sure that we are responding to those comments is if you could sit down with Jose Luis, who's leading that effort, and share with him what those comments are, because nobody was here at the time unless we have some minutes.
And we will, but I'm making these in a public forum so that
Audit.
it's on the record. But yes, I did have a great conversation with Jose Luis today, and I am very excited that he's going to be our new liaison, and we're looking forward to great things. But we want to make sure that we are putting some things on the public record.
And you will be sharing the specifics with staff so they know what to do going forward?
Well, you know that
Okay,
I share lots of
just double
specifics.
checking.
I share lots of specifics with you.
Okay.
So we have some notes.
Yes,
Paul,
we do.
I want to make, what Gene and I started doing was turn it into a matrix. I want to go through it and make sure I want to make sure this annual report, if it doesn't fully satisfy all the requests of this committee, I want to make sure it makes substantial progress towards satisfying it. And so Paul, in our meeting coming up, we will add that to the agenda, make sure we have a clear shared understanding of the improvements to the annual report.
Okay. Is that it for Gene?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll now move to the interim executive director report.
Well, good evening, everybody. This may be my last meeting with you because the StanCog board is going to appoint a new executive director on March 18th. Her name is Amber Collins. Amber comes with a great deal of experience and excellent credentials. She has a Bachelor of Science in Agribusiness and a Master of Science in Engineering and a Master's of Science in City and Regional Planning, all from Cal Poly. She served as both the executive director and the planning director for the Calaveras Council of Governments, and she has been most recently with Mark Thomas in Sacramento since 2022, serving in various roles, including Senior Transportation Planning Manager, and then more recently, the Planning and Funding Division Manager. So we're all excited to see Amber on board. The Policy Board has formed the Measure L Ad Hoc Committee. It is comprised of members Wright, Hernandez, Lopez, Graham, and Glazell. We are working on scheduling its first meeting. And I already commented on the Measure L report. In addition to regular updates from jurisdictions, staff intends to provide this committee with the annual project list, which are submitted in the beginning of July by the jurisdictions, as well as their maintenance of effort calculation for the upcoming fiscal year. Staff will also be providing the committee with quarterly reporting summaries for each jurisdiction. I think that will be helpful and informative, something that I don't think you have received before, but it's a part of the process. The one delay could be that the reports that we're using, we find lacking a little bit and not probably listing enough information to have a robust report, but we are working on changing that, and we'll have to coordinate that with the ad hoc committee and its efforts to probably update the master funding agreement. But we will have something for you, even if it isn't the perfect thing that we will have in the future. And then finally, we spoke today, Jose Luis and Jean and I, to talk about, other presentations that we can provide to enhance your knowledge about the work that the cities do on their local streets and roads. And one of them we thought might be interesting is what goes into the decision-making on prioritizing those roads and how those influence the pavement condition index scores. Does that sound like something that you would be interested in hearing about? Okay, and then also please let Jose Luis know if there's any other topics that you'd like to hear more about. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Question, we've raised the topic several times about the public awareness outreach program, and the legal counsel has, we asked the legal counsel to give us what legal justification they gave the policy board to adopt it at the time. We've asked several times for this. When do you think we will have that answer?
Oh, I think, first of all, Monica is away because of a death in the family, and so she couldn't be here tonight.
Okay.
I guess when I heard your question, it was more about, is there a legal opinion about whether or not we should retain it? But I will certainly share this additional, what I guess I didn't hear, the question about what was the information that was given to the policy board to have them make that decision in the first place. But she is planning on working on another, or either renewing or doing another legal opinion, which she's going to be presenting to the board. And I think when she does that, she'll come back to you with information. But I communicate with her what you've requested.
Thank you.
Paul, I have one other request.
Yes.
Is I think the April meeting is going to be full already, but maybe a report. It would be nice to know, and maybe the policy board is asking all these questions, and we don't need to, but it would be nice to get a presentation from Stancog or from LSL on how the outreach program is going for measure.
Sure. Yeah, so the people who were retained to build the website and populate the website,
Yeah.
and also write the annual report, at some point this year, I think they should come
Yes.
back and make.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's going to be at the April meeting, but.
Yeah,
maybe
I
we'll put it-
agree. I understand.
I think let's note that for a future.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our meeting calendar. So we need to, so the staff has requested that the March 31st workshop be canceled because there is a fear that the work product will not be ready yet for the audits. And Jose Luis and I spoke about this today. We are holding the April 14th meeting. And so the question is, do we need to add a May 5th or a meeting in May to, will we see drafts in April and then finalize those in May so that we can move those on to policy board, or, what is what is our strategy? So after we spoke today, Jose, what was your feelings in terms of?
So I learned new information. I didn't know that we would have all of the audits in time for the April 14th meeting, so that's great. My understanding is historically, the audits would come to this committee, and whatever corrective actions, the committee would hear about them, and then at that meeting, take action. But then in the last year and maybe last couple of years, this committee has appreciated having some time between the day that the reports are presented, the audits are presented, and then time to process it, and then come back. So Paul and I originally were thinking, what if we had 2 meetings in May? But now that we know the April 14th meeting will be a productive one, this committee, I think, has two options. One is take action at the April 14th meeting, done. The other one is hear and have the audits presented at the April 14th meeting, come back in May, the first week, I think it was May 5th.
May 5th was traditionally, the first Tuesday of May was traditionally when we adopted the audits.
So have a special meeting May 5th that gives the committee 2 weeks to process and then come back and take action. It's open on our calendar. And then I was trying to think, I suppose that the committee could, at its April 14th meeting, having seen everything, decide maybe to cancel. I guess I'm saying is maybe an option is to book the May 5th as a special meeting, and then you always have the option of canceling if you don't need it.
Yeah. Is there anyone who is that May 5th is a bad day for? That's Tuesday, first Tuesday. Obviously, it's Cinco de Mayo and Taco Tuesday falling on the same day, which is like, so we'll adjourn and celebrate. Yeah, we'll have tacos that night.
I did a taco Thursday.
There you go. Okay, so May 5th is open. Okay, so at this point, I am looking at our meeting calendar. So we are going to eliminate the meeting on the 31st. We're going to keep the meeting on April 14th, and we are going to add a meeting on May the 5th. Okay, and the next thing, between now and April 14th, can you, now that we know that we won't be able to do an annual report until September, we need to think through whether or not we normally meet in August, and then we meet in November, and if we have to, we'll do a special meeting, but we tried not to. But think about, Jose, where we need to be in terms of that annual report. So,
Thank you.
Is there any other questions or concerns on any topic that we've spoke of or didn't speak of? Okay. Do you have anything else you need to add? Okay. I really appreciate everybody's time and patience as we hopefully get back on track into a normal schedule. Welcome, Jose Luis. It's really, I'm excited that you're going to be working closely with us and keeping us on track and keeping us on schedule.
Comment.
Yes.
Do you know the staff has been an amount of pressure, and I know you all acknowledge that, but we're about half of the staff that we need to do the work that we're doing. And a lot of the people who are doing that work are not familiar at all with the work that they acquired. So I just wanted to acknowledge Jean and her team, and also Jose Luis, because he stepped in and is taking on more work. We all are. And so we appreciate your patience. And also, I just wanted to thank you because it's probably my last meeting that I'm going to be here with you. I don't think I'll be filling in for Amber at this meeting, but so it's been a pleasure to serve Stan Cog and to work with you on this important measure.
Thank you, Kate. We really appreciate you coming in and helping out when obviously we needed some help. So thank you for bringing your superior wisdom and experience to our area. And just to let you guys know, I've worked with Amber since 2016, and I think the policy board made a fantastic choice. She is a very impressive individual who did a lot with a little when she was in Calaveras County. So they were very scrappy in getting projects done, and I was always impressed. because they were obviously not a self-help county and in a rural county, and not being self-help, it's very difficult to get projects done. But, so I think we're going to look forward to being in good hands with Amber. So, all right. Thank you very much, guys. Meeting adjourned.